Welcome to Understanding the Bible with Pastor Stephen. This is episode 6, Heroes, Samson. Last time we covered the hero of Caleb. He was one of the 12 spies who searched out the land of Canaan that the Jews were going to take over. And this was like circa 5,000 years ago. I guess you'd say circa 3,000 BC. But when they went in, there's an old Sunday school song about the 12 spies that searched out the land of Canaan, and 10 were bad, 2 were good. Well, the 2 that were good was Caleb and Joshua. Joshua took over for Moses, and Caleb was the one we talked about last time. The interesting thing about him is he didn't really start his fighting and being a hero for the nation of Israel until he was 85 years old. He got his start as a spy, spying out the land because he was a respected man. And then because the Jews didn't take his advice, God made them wander in the desert for 40 years before they finally got into the land, the promised land. Then 5 years of fighting, and at age 85, Caleb fought giants to take a mountain that none of the other 12 tribes of Israel wanted. This time, we're going to cover the story of Samson. We're not going to cover it all. You've heard of Samson and Delilah, but we're going to get deeper into how he got his start. So here we go. All right, Samson's story starts in Judges 13 with his parents. And the children of Israel... Samson's story starts in Judges 13. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hand of the Philistines 40 years. And there was a certain man of Zorah of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren, and bare not. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman, and said unto her, Behold, now thou art barren, and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive, and bear a son. Now therefore beware, I pray thee, and drink not wine nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head, for the child shall be a Nazarite unto God from the womb. And he shall deliver Israel, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines. All the way down to verse 24, And the woman bare a son, and called his name Samson, and the child grew, and the Lord blessed him. Then it fast forwards. Looks like he's probably in his 20s. I'm not sure exactly. Judges 14, verse 1. So now Samson is grown. Samson went down to Timnath and saw a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. And he came up and told his father and his mother and said, I have seen a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore get her for me to wife. So this kind of begins where you can see Samson's bad qualities, I suppose, demanding of his parents to do things, okay, feeling entitled. Samson was not altogether a righteous person, okay? But verse 3, Then his father and his mother said unto him, Is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren, or among all my people, that thou goest to take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistines? And Samson said unto his father, Get her for me, for she pleaseth me well. But his father and his mother knew not that it was of the Lord, that he sought an occasion against the Philistines. For at that time the Philistines had dominion over Israel. So this is pretty interesting. Samson had maybe a strong lust, maybe a strong sexual drive. He saw a pretty woman. He's like, that's the one I'm going to marry. I don't know where this was coming from, but he had this drive strong enough that he didn't care what his parents thought. Okay. Normally we'd look at that as a bad thing, right? But in this case, God had a plan to deliberately use this situation. So that's where it gets interesting. So verse 5, Then went Samson down and his father and his mother to Timnath, and came to the vineyards of Timnath, and behold, a young lion roared against him. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he rent him as he would have rent a kid, and he had nothing in his hand. But he told not his father or his mother what he had done. So he wasn't allowed to touch unclean animals, all right? And the lion is an unclean animal. and he wasn't allowed to touch anything that was dead, and he had just killed this lion. So I don't know all the laws in regards to that, the old Jewish laws, but as a Nazirite, he had just done something wrong. Okay. And he went down and talked with the woman, and she pleased Samson well. And after a time, he returned to take her, and he turned aside to see the carcass of the lion, and behold, there was a swarm of bees and honey in the carcass of the lion. So lions, along with other predatory animals like cats, dogs, bears, tigers, they're not kosher. They were unclean because they don't chew their cud, they don't have cloven hooves. So touching the lion would have violated his oath. Touching a dead animal violated his oath again. And his parents were apparently along the same lines. So his parents would not do that. So that's why he didn't tell his parents about these things. So you can see here now he's got this problem with authority, right? It's just an interesting side note. All right, verse 9. And he took thereof in his hands and went on eating, and came to his father and his mother, and gave them, and they did eat. But he told not them that he had taken the honey out of the carcass of the lion. So his father went down unto the woman, and Samson made there a feast, for so used the young men to do. And it came to pass when they saw him, that they brought 30 companions to be with him. And Samson said unto them, I will now put forth a riddle unto you. If you can certainly declare it me within the 7 days of the feast, and find it out, then I will give you 30 sheets and 30 changes of garments. But if you cannot declare it to me, then shall you give me 30 sheets and 30 change of garments. And they said unto him, Put forth the riddle, that we may hear it. So here he is being a little boastful maybe, but he's gambling. He thinks he's better than them. Again, some sort of bad attitude here where he's like, I've got a riddle. There's no way you can figure it out. And I'm going to get maybe expensive clothes from you. 30 changes of garments for one guy. You know, it's his bravado here maybe. But you begin to see a pattern of how Samson treated other people, thought of other people, treated those in authority, etc. So they said, Put forth thy riddle that we may hear it. Verse 14. And he said unto them, Out of the eater came forth meat, and out of the strong came forth sweetness. And they could not in 3 days expound the riddle. And it came to pass on the 7th day that they said unto Samson's wife, Entice thy husband, that he may declare unto us the riddle, lest we burn thee and thy father's house with fire. Have you called us to take what we have? Is it not so? And Samson's wife wept before him, and said, Thou dost but hate me, and lovest me not. Thou hast put forth a riddle unto the children of my people, so she was a Philistine, and hast not told it to me. And he said unto her, Behold, I have not told it to my own father or mother, and shall I tell it to you? And she wept before him the 7 days while the feast lasted. And it came to pass on the 7th day that he told her, because she lay sore upon him, and she told the riddle to the children of her people. And the men of the city said unto him on the 7th day, before the sun went down, What is sweeter than honey, and what is stronger than a lion? And he said unto them, If you had not plowed with my heifer, you had not found out my riddle. So he knew that his wife had done it, betrayed him basically, even though it was a small thing. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he went down to Ashkelon, and slew 30 men of them, and took their spoil, and gave change of garments unto them which had expounded the riddle. And his anger was kindled, and he went up to his father's house. But Samson's wife was given to his companion, whom he had used as his friend. Very interesting. But think about what happened here. He just got married, a feast, consummated the marriage, 7 days with his wife. She betrayed him. In order to get the 30 changes of garments, he went and killed 30 Philistines, the enemy of God's people, because the Philistines were enslaving them, basically. Now, that in itself was probably wrong. I mean, to me, on its face, it sounds wrong. I don't know if they were warriors and he was, just using that as an excuse to attack, or obviously God was using it to provoke the Philistines to cause a conflict. But this is a dangerous situation here. He just goes and kills 30 guys just to get 30 changes of clothes. And then when he does that, Samson's wife, they just had a feast and he got married in public. His wife was given to another man who he thought was his friend, so probably one of those Philistines. That's just horrible. And think about it. If you just got married and spent 7 days in the arms of your lover, and all of a sudden she's ripped away and given to somebody, a worse betrayal, to someone that you thought was your friend. So he's got a lot of emotional things going on here, okay, in addition to his strength and being able to just kill 30 men because he wanted to. Now we'll pick it up in chapter 15, verse 1. But it came to pass within a while after, in the time of wheat harvest, that Samson visited his wife with a kid, and he said, I will go into my wife into the chamber. But her father would not suffer him to go in. So he brought a goat, probably to kill and eat and have a feast, to appease the father, of the bride. But the father's not letting him in. Hey, I've already given her to someone else. Verse 2, and her father said, I verily thought that thou hast utterly hated her. Therefore I gave her to thy companion. Is not her younger sister fairer than her? Take her, I pray thee, instead of her. And Samson said concerning them, Now shall I be more blameless than the Philistines, though I do them a displeasure. And Samson went and caught 300 foxes, and took firebrands, and turned tail to tail, and put a firebrand in the midst between 2 tails. And when he had set the brands on fire, he let them go into the standing corn of the Philistines, and burnt up both the shocks and also the standing corn with the vineyards and the olives. Then the Philistines said, Who hath done this? And they answered, Samson, the son-in-law of the Timnite, because he had taken his wife and given her to his companion. And the Philistines came up and burnt her and her father with fire. There's a whole lot going on here, guys. Think about this. They first threatened her, we will kill you with fire if you don't tell us this riddle. So she gives in, maybe to save the life of her father and herself, maybe out of fear, maybe because she never loved Samson, which is probably what I think. And then they end up killing her and her father with fire anyways. But because they had given her away, so his wife was ripped away and given to someone else, Samson goes out and captures 300 foxes. Now, I don't even know how you do that. He's a fast runner. I don't know. He set up a whole bunch of snares and did it. That's just crazy. And what gave him the idea to tie their tails together and put a burning firebrand in between the 2 tails so it would scare the foxes and they'd run all over the place? That's just insane. But think of the California fires we just had with all the illegal immigrants setting fires and the Venezuelan gangs that were setting fires. Everything destroyed, the Palisades and everything over there. That's kind of what happened, but with wild foxes running all over the place, burning things as they went. Pretty crazy. So anyways, let's go back to Judges 15, starting in verse 7. And Samson said unto them, Though you have done this, yet will I be avenged of you, and after that I will cease. And he smote them hip and thigh with a great slaughter, and he went down and dwelt in the top of the rock Edom. Then the Philistines went up and pitched in Judah and spread themselves in Lehi. And the men of Judah said, Why are you come up against us? And they answered, To bind Samson are we come up, to do to him as he has done to us. Then 3,000 men of Judah went to the top of the rock Edom and said to Samson, Knowest thou not that the Philistines are rulers over us? What is this that thou hast done unto us? And he said unto them, As they did unto me, so have I done unto them. And they said unto him, We are come down to bind thee, that we may deliver thee into the hand of the Philistines. And Samson said unto them, Swear unto me that you will not fall upon me yourselves. And they spake unto him, saying, No, but we will bind thee fast, and deliver thee into their hand. But surely we will not kill thee. And they bound him with 2 new cords, and brought him up from the rock. And when he came unto Lehi, the Philistines shouted against him, and the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him. And the cords that were upon his arms became as flax that was burnt with fire, and his bands loosed from off his hands. And he found a new jawbone of an ass, and put forth his hand and took it, and slew 1,000 men therewith. And Samson said, With the jawbone of an ass, heaps upon heaps, with the jaw of an ass have I slain 1,000 men. And it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking, that he cast away the jawbone out of his hand, and called that place Ramath-lehi. And he was sore athirst, and called on the Lord, and said, Thou hast given this great deliverance in the hand of thy servant, and now shall I die for thirst, and fall into the hand of the uncircumcised? So he let the Jews bind him and take him to the Philistines, so it would look good for them. Remember, they're slaves, basically, okay? So they're in subjection to the Philistines. And the Philistines are like, hey, they obeyed us. They did what we said. And they thought they had Samson, and they went to take him, and he broke the cords, picked up a bone that he found in the desert on the floor there, and just started laying waste and killed 1,000 soldiers of the Philistines. These were like the army. They knew he was strong. Okay. This was a huge slaughter. This was a miracle. The Spirit of the Lord came upon him. And this man, I don't know how long it takes, even with God's help, but God clearly made it a physical thing that within his own strength and his own abilities, he was able to defeat them. I don't know how long it took, but it was long enough that he felt like he was dying of thirst by the time he got done exerting all that energy and fighting all those people. So he says, God, why have you delivered me only to let me die here on the Philistine land? And they're going to come and, claim victory. Verse 19, but God clave a hollow place that was in the jaw, and there came water thereout. And when he had drunk, his spirit came again, and he revived. Wherefore he called the name thereof En Hakkor, which is in Lehi unto this day. And he judged Israel in the days of the Philistines 20 years. So God did miracles for Samson. But Samson had a great strength and did not shave his head, did not drink wine, and was not supposed to touch dead things, unclean things. What I pick up out of this story about Samson, and this is just the beginning. There's a couple more good stories I'm going to read next time, but God uses our weaknesses, okay? Samson had a weakness for women. This is only the first one. There's like 3 women in his life that cause problems, but this is the first one. Samson made a lot of mistakes. He defied his parents. He went outside of what he should have done as a Nazirite and as a Jew to marry within his tribe. He tried to find someone else. He went and murdered 30 people. They might have deserved it because they were slave owners. I don't know. The Bible doesn't tell us that. But he killed them without cause. They were not the ones who slighted him. They were not the ones who owed him 30 changes of clothes. He just killed 30 random Philistines to take their clothes. It's pretty brutal. So Samson did some things that were wrong. Pretty obvious. But he also was used by God to free the people from the Philistines for 20 years. God uses people who are brash. Sometimes he uses people who are quick to violence. Samson was quick-witted with the poems, coming up with a riddle, right? God uses all kinds of weaknesses and strengths that people have. God uses dumb brutes. I'm sure it appeared sometimes that Samson was just a dumb brute. Samson used that strength multiple times to defend Israel. God uses people who get on people's nerves, who rub people the wrong way, as Samson clearly did so many times. Now, next time we'll find out the end of the story with Samson and Delilah. It's kind of a sad story, but it's got some cool parts to it. So I really want you guys to tune in and hear the next segment on this hero, Samson. But what's really cool about it is, even with what Samson did wrong, God used him, and he's remembered in the book of Hebrews in the New Testament as one of the heroes of the faith. You may think that you don't have any talent. The only thing Samson had was he had a quick temper and he was strong. God gave him strength. So God uses people. God can use you. And we'll find out next time, God sometimes even answers deathbed prayers if it's in his will. And in that case, it was to free Israel. I want to read a couple of verses to you here to tie this up. Joshua 1:9, have not I commanded thee, be strong and of good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. Never once in any of the stories of Samson does it say that he's afraid. I think until the end when he's tortured. But in all of this, when he's facing 1,000 men and things like that, he was never afraid. Isaiah 41:10, fear thou not, for I am with thee. I am thy God. Remember who your God is. And remember, in the midst of pain, God has a plan. God used Samson's pain in that broken marriage. I have a very good idea of what that was like. I've been married before and divorced because my wife started sleeping around. All right. I understand that pain. And that's basically what happened to him. For whatever reason, but God used it. We don't know God's plan for us. We can't let it beat us down to the point of depression to where we can't recover. 2 Corinthians 12:7 says, "And lest I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations, there was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure. For this thing I besought the Lord thrice, that it might depart from me." This is Paul speaking. He got hit with something that hurt him a lot, and he asked God to take it away 3 times. Verse 9, "And he said unto me, My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions, in distresses, for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then am I strong." Take heart. Whatever trial you're going through, have hope, no matter how bad life is for you. Get your strength from God. God is with you, and he has a good plan for your life. Think of Samson, who married the woman he loved only to have her parents come and take her away and give her to a man that he thought was his friend. Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end." I like the way the Berean Study Bible uses the English words on this. Again, Jeremiah 29:11, it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you a future and a hope." Always remember that God is on our side and he's a fighter. You are a warrior in that God's army. Exodus 15:3, "The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name." Until next time, keep searching for the truth. And I would add, make sure you choose your heroes wisely. Hey, thanks for tuning in, guys. So I wanted you to remember the series on finance that I did in season 3. It's episode 23, a 6-part series called Money. I covered personal finance, increasing your wealth, tithing, debt, generosity, and investing. And I'm a pastor. I've studied very much in the Bible. I'm interested in counseling and helping people, but I've also in the secular world been involved in the banking industry for almost 20 years. I've dealt with personal banking at numerous banks, helping small businesses get started, to investing, to insurance products, to being a licensed financial advisor with all my Series 6 and 7 and all that stuff. Now I'm with a financial education firm whose goal is to teach young adults proper budgeting, saving, investing, and retirement planning so they can achieve their financial goals, be debt-free, and potentially build a legacy for their kids. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that if you have questions or need help with any of those financial things, reach out to me. You've got my email, angrypatriot42@yahoo.com. We can set up a Zoom call, get to know each other to see if I can help you. This is a free service. I'm not charging anything. Same as for this podcast. I'm a professional, but I'm a Bible believer. I'm a pastor. If you like what I have to show you, then we can meet again and discuss goals, budgets, finances, etc. And I want you to understand, we can just meet and get to know each other a little bit. But if you actually want to take advantage of my financial logic or my financial knowledge, if you want me to become your financial guy, I would require several meetings over several months. This isn't a one and done, you get a budget and advice and it'll set you up for life because this guy knows the Bible. This is going to be more in depth. It's a process of education, strategy, moving you towards financial freedom, wealth building that addresses every stage of life and uses the godly principles of stewardship taught by Jesus himself. Anyways, I just wanted to put that out there since you have listened to this podcast. And let's get back to the Bible, okay? So remember the stewardship properties in Matthew 25, the parable of the talents, taking care of things that God has given you, investing for the future, all of those good things, being fair, being just, making good choices, and not wasting your money. In that regard, keep searching for the truth, and God bless you.